Hi, I'm Julie from Fabric Garden Quilt Shop in Sacramento, and we are up to installment 3 of the Border Creek Station Mystery Quilt. So this month you do get to do a lot more sewing. The first thing you're going to do when you look at your pattern is you need to pull your units from baggie D and baggie G, and those you're going to sew together. So, and again, I'm only going to reference the queen size because I do think that's what most people are making, but if you have chosen to make the twin, just make sure you're looking at the correct numbers to cut. So from baggie D, you've got your 2-patch, and baggie G, you have your rectangle. So you're just going to sew those together and press to the rectangle. So what you need to be aware of, though, is you need 50 pieces with a dark on the right and 50 pieces with a dark on the left. So just make sure you do that. Once those are made, just tuck them back into baggie D and put them away for next month. On the next page, you need to do some cutting. So from your fabric 3, which is this pretty white print with the blue ferns on it, you need to cut 4 strips that are 3 inches by width of fabric. From those 4 strips, you're going to cut, it looks like 50 3-inch squares. So from the 3-inch squares, well, I had them. Anyway, you're going to cut, here they are, sorry about that. You're going to cut quarter square triangles. And I think I've talked about this before. If you press your 2 fabrics together, it just makes them stay together, and it's a little more accurate. And you need to cut these on the diagonal. And if you have a rotating cutting mat, that does help a lot. And I have this Creative Grids ruler, which has a 45-degree line there. So I'm just going to mark that 45-degree right there on the edge, and my corners are lined up. And I'm going to make a cut there. And then rather than kind of twisting my body and cutting like that, I'm going to turn my mat, and I'm going to do the same thing on this corner. And I will have quarter square triangles. Then from baggie E that you cut last time, you're going to pull out your green quarter square triangles, and you need to sew them together. Take a look at your pattern, because when I do these, I definitely have my pattern right next to my sewing machine, because it's very easy to sew in the wrong direction. So if you've got your triangles laid out, you've got your long edge here and your long edge over here, you're going to sew just like that. You're going to put them together with a 1/4 inch seam. You need to make 100 with the green on this side, and then you need to make another 100 with the green on the opposite side. So you will end up with triangles that look like this. You 100 of this direction and 100 in this direction. And then I just take my scissors, and you can just nip off that point, that little dog ear there. And then you're going to put those away and tuck them back into, I believe it's, yes, baggie E. So I've got my, my baggie here. All of my triangles are made, and I can tuck those away till next month. On the next page, you're going to be making half square triangles. So the pattern will give you 2 different options, method A and method B. Method B requires triangle paper, which our shop does not currently stock, so I'm only going to talk about method A, which is really a great method because you can make 8 half square triangles at one time. So you need to cut from your pretty white fabric again. You're going to cut 5 strips that are 8 inches by width of fabric. And from those 5 strips, you need to cut 25 pieces of the white, and then you're going to do the same thing with this fabric 8, which is the blue fabric. You're going to cut another 5 strips, 8 by width of fabric, and you're going to cut those into 8-inch squares. You need 25 8-inch squares from the blue and 25 from the white. The pattern has you drawing a line corner to corner in both directions and sewing 1/4 of an inch away from that line. That is a perfectly acceptable way to do it. For myself, I find that I have an easier time sewing on a line as opposed to away from a line. So I'm going to use my Studio 180 magic wand, which I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there is a line right down the middle. I've lined that up corner to corner, and then I've taken a friction pen, or you can use your favorite marking tool and draw on either side of that line. And I'm going to repeat that on the other side as well. So I will end up with these 4 lines here. You're going to put those right sides together with your blue fabric, take that to the sewing machine, and you will end up, I don't know if you can see it, I'm using this so I didn't use darker thread, but I have got stitching lines in both directions there on 2 sides. Then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to cut these apart. And once again, if you have a rotating cutting mat, it will come in handy. That way you don't have to pick up your fabric. So just lay your ruler corner to corner. This Creative Grids ruler has a 1/4 inch mark here, and so I'm going to line that up on my stitching line, just like that, and I'm going to cut that apart. And then I'm going to turn my mat and I'm going to do the same thing in the opposite corner. Okay, now don't pick up your fabric yet because you need to make 2 more cuts. This is 8 inches across, so it's halfway across is 4 inches. So I'm just lining my 4-inch mark up with the edge of my fabric, and your ruler should go right through that X that you just made. And I'm going to repeat it one more time over here, and I've got my ruler lined up and it's going through the X. And I now have 8 half square triangles. So once these are made, you do need to trim these again. So you can take your checker trimmer. You're going to press these to the dark, just like that. These aren't. I don't have an iron right here. On the Tucker trimmer, you can see there is a dotted line here. This needs to be 3.5 inches square. So here's my 3.5 inch mark, which I will line up on the stitching line, just like that. And I haven't pressed this, so I'm not actually going to trim it. But that is lined up there. I would take my rotary cutter, trim, and then I'm going to turn my mat, and I will do the same thing again. I've got my 3.5 inch line there, and I'm going to trim, and I will end up with 200 perfectly trimmed half square triangles. Once those are made, you can tidy those away and put them back into Baggy G. And you're all set for next month. So thank you very much. I'll see you next time.